Hello everyone on the internet, NinjaNick333. We're back with another round of the European International Pokemon Trading Card Game Championships. We've got Tord Reklev, the man, the myth, the legend himself, on the left with his Gardevoir deck that we saw in the first round. Hopefully he does not play super slow again, because we all know how that game went. Versus, it looks like some sort of Lost Box deck on the right, probably Goodra. Seeing by the fact that there is a Metal Energy in the prize cards. Tord gets the best starter in the Mew with the Mysterious Tail. You can use that to get an item card off of the top 6 cards of his deck. Looks like he also starts with the Battle VIP Pass as well. He's going to use that to thin 2 basic Pokemon out of his deck so that he doesn't potentially see those off of the Mysterious Tail. He could also get the deck search so that he can identify what his 6 prizes are. Again, hopefully it does not take too long doing that. I have heard some Twitter complaints about how long Tord takes for his turns, because he is very, very aware on how to play the clock. To an extent that should not be done. We'll put it at that. So, Battle VIP Pass is the strongest start for a Gardevoir deck because it does allow you to fill up your bench as fast as possible. Comboing that with a couple Level Ball or Fog Crystals really puts the race in there, because you can quite easily get all of your Pokemon out as fast as possible that way. Battle VIP Pass is also a really easy way to get the Radiant Greninja, should that not be prized, so that you can use the concealed cards to get that going very fast. But it looks like we're going to go in with the Zacian first. I'm not sure if he knows what he's playing against, but usually at the end of day 1, a website will compile all of the deck identities of what people are playing. So like Tord is on Gardevoir. So if you were to sit across from Tord day 2 and look at that website, you would know that he is on Gardevoir. You may not know exactly what his deck consists of, what his 60 cards are, but you'd know that it is a Gardevoir based deck. And as long as you're educated enough on how Gardevoir decks look, you should have at least a general knowledge of what his game plan is and what cards he's playing. So that is a good informational tactic, is to keep track of the internet, basically. So we do see the Level Ball is going to go in and get another Ralts here as well. So we do have 2 Ralts down. We have the Zacian V. It would be nice to get at least 1 more Ralts down. The dream is always 4. But it wouldn't be bad to get a Radiant Greninja down as well. Looks like we're going to put a Manaphy down. We are against a Radiant Greninja, so even if you don't know what your opponent is playing, you could just assume the worst and think that they're going to be able to attack with the Radiant Greninja, so might as well put the Manaphy down. I think you could hold it for a single turn, just in case, if you didn't know if your opponent could attack with the Greninja or not. You could save it 1 turn. It's near impossible for a deck to get 7 cards in the Lost Zone turn 1. It's definitely possible, but it's very, very unlikely. Very difficult, especially without Scoop Up Net in the format anymore. Looks like not a very good start here from Johan. We do have an Ultra Ball, Nest Ball. There is a Courses Experiment, I do think, so that is definitely the best card in his hand there. But it's a couple Goodra V-Stars as well. I mean, 1 would be fine. It's a little early to have those in your hand, especially without any regular Goodra Vs in play at all or in hand. So we are going to Nest Ball. Looks like we might be eyeing up the Comfey. We already have the Greninja active, and as I always say, if you were to open up with Battle VIP Pass in a Lost Box deck, you always want to make sure you have 2 Comfey and a Greninja at minimum. Sometimes 3 Comfey now that the Scoop Up Net is gone, but with this deck also, you would like to see at least 1 Goodra down turn 1, so you can evolve it turn 2 in Mirage Gate, potentially, and hopefully turn 2 as well. Sometimes you can open up enough switching cards to be able to get 4 cards in the Lost Zone turn 1, so that it's easy to get to 7 cards in the Lost Zone turn 2. but we will have to see. There is that regional promo, Chorus's Experiment. You'll love to see it. There were a couple regionals where those were given out. I think 2 or 3 that I've been at. I do keep meaning to sell them, because I know that they're worth at least some amount of money, and I already own regular ones. So we are going to Chorus's Experiment to Lost Zone 2 cards, put 3 cards in our hand. Those 2 cards that are in the Lost Zone are a little bit off camera, but it doesn't necessarily matter what's in there. It's more so the count. Although I would like to see exactly which resources have been utilized or not, but again, not as important as knowing the exact number. We do get the Beach Court here, so Greninja can retreat into a Comfey for free. Since it is a basic Pokemon, Beach Court does reduce its retreat cost by 1, just like the Sky Arrow Bridge from the old Virizion Genesect decks we used to all play in the black and white era. I do miss that deck. That was very fun. Looks like we are going to see another Nest Ball. Looks like we're going in with the Cramorant. Do we have another Comfey in hand? It would be fine to attack with Cramorant here if you have 4 cards in the Lost Zone, but I think you're only going to have 3. Oh, there is a second Comfey in hand, so that's fine. Getting the Cramorant off the Nest Ball is perfectly good there. Drapion is something that you actually do want to keep in this matchup. Even though you're not against Mew, you could always go double Mirage Gate in order to one-shot a Drapion, the Zacian or the Gardevoir EX, but it looks like he is choosing to Lost Zone it. So, not sure how I feel about that. I do think that you can win without it, but I would have liked to see that get capped. Although a lot of these Goodra decks are playing only 3 Mirage Gates, so I guess if you have the option between a Mirage Gate and a Drapion, you would rather Lost Zone the Drapion, I suppose, especially this early in the game. God, every time I sneeze, it's almost like my heart bursts out of my chest. I sneeze very loud. I, like, cough up my entire lung. It's awful. If I, like, try to hold in my sneeze, all the blood vessels in my nose burst. So, I sneeze very obnoxiously. So, I apologize. I did mute it. I had just enough time to mute it. So we are Ultra Balling. We are getting rid of a Gardevoir EX and a Boss's Orders to get a Luminion here towards Signature Luminion that he and Robin are playing in this deck that nobody else was playing beforehand. Nobody thought to put it in there. As long as you get the Collapse Stadium right after, you can just discard it and feel completely fine about it. It is in deck. He also does play Penny as well, so you could, and that's also in deck, I just saw. So you could always Penny it back into your hand to either reuse it or just get it out of play. In worst case scenarios with Penny, you could always use Radiant Greninja's concealed cards, Penny it back into your hand, re-bench it, and then concealed cards a second time. I did that twice at the same League Challenge the other day. Wish I could say that it was a good play, but it didn't help me. Tord is also on those Diamond and Pearl era rare candies. I, of course, prefer the Heart Gold Soul Silver era. As I've said many a times, Heart Gold Soul Silver are my favorite cards, card designs. I do love the Heart Gold Soul Silver games the best. Gen 2 was always my favorite, and when they remade them, I think those were the best remakes that they have made. I broke my DS's touchscreen playing the Pokeathlon, and I'm not somebody who breaks anything they own generally. I'm usually very careful with my items I own, so breaking my touchscreen was a bit of a surprise. GameStop didn't notice any problems with it when I sold it to them, though, as a kid, so still got full value from GameStop for that, which was probably like $3. Tord is Switching into his Zacian, retreating because of the free retreat with the Beach Core, is attaching an energy because he was able to use Roar of the Sword last turn. Puts a Temple of Sinnoh into play just to get rid of the Beach Core, so the opponent does not have access to free retreat on the next turn. Always forcing that one extra card out of the opponent is pretty good, either the Beach Core or the attach for turn to retreat. Or another switching card. And we will see the Zacian use Storm Slash this turn to be able to take a knockout on that Comfey. So this is a turn 2 attack, is pretty good here. Also going to get a Refinement in with this Kirlia, draws another Kirlia. We will be able to use Refinement yet again. And this is the key way to play the matchup here, is you always want to be able to use as many refinements as possible. It feels a little bad not having 3 Ralts or Kirlia on your bench, but 2 is fine if you've got a big Zacian swinging in taking prize cards before your opponent's even able to get set up. I would like to see maybe on the next turn a Penny to bring up the Luminion and bench another Ralts would be pretty good. It's also bad that he was like forced to put that Manaphy down. Knowing that he was against Goodra, he knows that that can always Mirage Gate into an attack with the Radiant Greninja to take 2 knockouts on Kirlias or Ralts. So you need that Manaphy in play. It's more relevant than having the 3rd Ralts line. We are thinking of Lost Zoning either the Pokegear, which is what's chosen, or the Water Energy, which is what's kept. We are going to use that Water Energy to conceal some cards like a Michael Long to draw 2 more. Still at only 4 cards in the Lost Zone. You could attack with a Cramorant this turn if you could switch into it. We do get the Melanie that will allow the attachment of a Water Energy from discard to draw 3 cards. That is a pretty big hand now. You can evolve into the V-Star if you want to, because you did open a couple of those. You have another Goodra V you could bench as well if you want to evolve that next turn. I wouldn't mind seeing that get put down. But he might just want to go solo Goodra right now. That might be the plan. Yeah, there it goes. Right down on the bench. So you can evolve it next turn. And this is why I say I like Leafy Camo Poncho and Goodra. Because if you have double Goodra, then you can Leafy Camo Poncho your bench one. You can Choice Belt your active one and make it so your opponent can't just like do an easy boss. They have to go Escape Rope boss to the same one. We do have the Choice Belt. We're still too many cards off in the Lost Zone, so we can't quite get there. We don't have a Chorus's Experiment. We already used Melanie for the turn, so we do have to go in with the Cramorant. You could potentially put the Choice Belt on it and make it so your opponent's able to put like 1 or 2 less energies onto it with a Gardevoir EX. That could be relevant for if that Zacian is going to try to attack a Goodra. But otherwise, it's a lot more useful later in the game on the Goodra V-Star if the Zacian comes back out and gets powered up again without the Gardevoir EX. If maybe a Shining Arcana Gardevoir sticks a bunch of energy to it. You could always see an attack with a Gardevoir EX at some point as well, because that will do a solid 190. After the minus 80 is still 110, which is a sizable chunk. And it makes it so the Zacian, when it comes in a later turn, is able to have a much easier time knocking it out. And maybe even with the Shining Arcana can do it without having to damage yourself too much. Force that Choice Belt out of the opponent. This is also why I like Mimikyu EX in the deck, because not only is it an Alolan Vulpix counter in a way, because it doesn't have an ability, but if you're playing against something like Lugia, where it's going to have 4 energy on it, you get a lot more value out of its attack than you do out of Zacian's. You don't have to put as many energies onto it in order to attack. But it also does have 30 less HP, so that is 1 less energy that you can attach to it with the ability. Potentially 2 if you're playing Champions Festival. Or freshwater set, potion, picnic basket. A lot of people, oh god, Twitter's a mess of a place, but everybody's complaining about the price of Champions Festival. If you really don't want to play a card that's good and you want to play something not as good, just play picnic basket. It's worth like 1 penny. The only time it's worse is in the mirror. So we are going to see flower selecting here after that Cramorant goes down. Tord has now taken 2 prize cards with the same Zacian, and Johan still does not have any more than 4 cards in the Lost Zone. So it looks like we discarded, is that Roxanne and the Goodra V-Star with the Ultra Ball? You're 1 turn away from that Roxanne being useful. I don't know if I would have discarded that there. We do have the Mirage Gate in hand, but again, I think even 2. Still can't use it. We're only at 6 cards in the Lost Zone now. We really are hurting for a Colress's Experiment. And maybe another Cramorant. Although, does Goodra, I want to say, only plays 1 Cramorant. It might play 2. But this is why I like playing 2 Cramorants in Lost Box decks, because, you know, you could always prize 1 before it's the Lost Zone 1. It hurts having to, like, in the regular version, it hurts having to Clara it back to use the same Cramorant a second time. Yeah, it looks like just a pass, too, so that's going to give Tord Reklev yet another just free, easy prize card, being able to knock out that Comfey. We can even see a boss's orders maybe knock out the Goodra V, or if we're really lucky, the Goodra V-Star this turn. Let's see, we have 110 on here, so you can still do... We have 110, we can go to 210, right? So that's 5 energies. 8. 10. Oh, yeah. We have exactly enough HP to be able to one-shot the Goodra V-Star on the bench. So we could see Skyseal Stone boss's orders, a Gardevoir EX, put 5 energy onto the Zacian. And then one-shot for exact knockout 270 on the Goodra V-Star. And at that point, if you're Johan, just scoop and go to the next game. So Tord still has to put all of those pieces together, but he has a massive hand and he has 2 Curlias. He's used both of those refinements this turn. We are now going to be able to use Shining Arcana as well here. So we're going to draw 2 more cards. Looks like just a Battle VIP pass, though. A little unfortunate. We did not quite get there. So, not able to put the pieces together for funny play. But you could always just penny the Luminion back into your hand for safety. And then just attack and knock out again with the Zacian here. And then go for funny Zacian play later in the game. Yeah, Tord definitely taking a very meticulous amount of time with his actions, I would say. Gardevoir EX is coming into play now. I guess it's fine to evolve it now because that keeps the Kirlia from being able to get boss KO'd. Since you were forced to evolve your other Kirlia into Gardevoir. Looks like we're going to thin out the hand with the Ultra Ball, getting rid of double Battle VIP Pass just to get the Radiant Greninja in hand. If something does get knocked out, you could always bench the Radiant Greninja and have another out to drawing 2 every turn. Yeah, Tord's hand still pretty stacked. He even has a rare candy, so he can even skip Kirlia if he wants to. Although, Tord only plays one Shining Arcana Gardevoir, and he already has the one Gardevoir EX in play. So, it would be better to just evolve the Ralts into a Kirlia and keep that draw 2 Pokemon. So, just discard the rare candy with the refinement on the next turn. Would be perfectly fine. So, Johan's finally going to go to 7 cards in the Lost Zone this turn and be able to play Mirage Gate. So this will be his first attack with Goodra, potentially. We'll have to see. There is an Escape Rope in hand, so he could play that. I mean, if you're Tord, who would you put up? Probably the Mew. Probably let the Mew die. And then I'd still be able to do Funny Play with Zacian. I keep calling it Funny Play. Because anytime you can one-shot a Goodra with a Zacian, it's Funny Play. Although you can't one-shot it unless you have Escape Rope Boss if it's using the attack. Just because of how much damage you currently have on you. So here we go, we're at 7, so now we're double Mirage Gating. Goodra was having a lot of hard time getting cards into the Lost Zone because, again, Scoop Up Net has rotated. Did not draw a lot of switching options, did not really have any Compe in play for quite a while. Just kind of drew a really bricky hand for game 1, turn 1. And that is the bad part about Goodra right now. It's a very strong deck, but the consistency is just unfortunately not quite where you need it to be at times. If it was a lot more consistent, or at least a little more consistent, I would think it was the best deck in the format, hands down. But since you just have such a hard time getting cards into Lost Zone, sometimes not being able to play your own Mirage Gates, it just feels bad. So we are going for the Roxanne here. Tord had an ultra ginormous hand, and now it's going to be 2 cards. Which again is why you want to leave that Ralts open to be a Kirlia. We do draw Level Ball off of that, so we will be able to quite easily turn that into another Kirlia. We're going to put up the Mew because that's an easy pivot. You could always put an energy from your discard into play that way. And this is fun too. He just top-decked Memory Skip Ralts. There is a world where he just attacks with Memory Skip to make Goodra forget Rolling Iron for a turn, forcing the opponent to have like a double switch or a switch retreat in order to attack with it again. So if you are able to Roxanne while doing Memory Skip, it's a good play. Otherwise, it's not. Because that could force them to retreat. I know Goodra's retreat has to be at least... I think it's at least 2. No, it's 3. Yeah, so you would force them to retreat all their energy off to attack with the other Goodra. And that's just as funny play as one-shotting it with the Zacian with the Sky Seal Stone. One of the guys at one of the locals I go to that I played against at the League Challenge yesterday as of recording. He was actually playing 2 Memory Skip Ralts, and I did lose to him with my lone Alolan Vulpix board state, because he did Memory Skip me 2 different turns. And I was not able to come back from that. I was able to knock it out once by retreating my Vulpix back into my Arceus V-Star, but then when I had just lone Vulpix and my opponent had 1 prize card, he Miriamed to the second Ralts back into his deck. I didn't realize he was playing 2 until he Miriamed it back because I knew there was a Memory Skip Ralts underneath his Gardevoir. And I specifically chose not to knock out his Gardevoir EX, just because I knew that the Memory Skip Ralts was underneath it. But he played 2, so I lost because of that. He also had the Gallade from Chilling Reign. He managed to hit me for 62 turns in a row. It was a little annoying. I'm not sure if that damage really mattered, but either way, the Memory Skip certainly did. So Tord is slowly trying to rebuild his hand here. Looks like it's just a bunch of energy right now. He does have a Radiant Greninja. He could use the energy to his advantage to draw another couple of cards. Looks like he is going to choose to do that. He does get the Sky Seal Stone, but unfortunately no way to get Big Zacian this turn. So if I were Tord, I would feel uncomfortable, but I would probably just attack with Gardevoir EX to put some damage in play and force the Moisture Star. Either that, or you could attack with the Gardevoir, Shining Arcana Gardevoir, or you could retreat into the Manaphy and just let the Manaphy die. Yeah, it looks like he's choosing to just pass. I do like that here. Force your opponent to have the boss's orders on something. And it looks like he does, though, which is a little unfortunate. But Tord does need a bench space thinned out for the Zacian to come into play. He's got quite a lot of energy in the discard. Looks like 2. There's at least 10 energy in the discard pile. I know Tord is playing 12. And you need 10 on a Zacian in order to one-shot a Goodra through its ability. Or through its damage reduction. So as long as Yoan does take a knockout, Tord can potentially go Zacian funny play. He does have the Sky Seal Stone. He just needs the Zacian now. One Zacian is in his discard pile. There should be one in deck so long as it wasn't prized. And he could always Miriam it back into the deck if he really needs to. The only thing is that Roxanne is really hurting him here. So if I were Yoan, I would definitely go for the boss's orders. The question is, do you do the EX or the Shining Arcana? I think I would do the Shining Arcana. You could also do just the Kirlia as well. That wouldn't be horrible. Because that could always evolve into another EX and cause problems for you that way. Yeah, so I think actually maybe the Kirlia would be the correct choice to boss. You also don't know if your opponent is or is not playing Chilling Reign Gallade. So that could always just hit for 120 being a one prizer and be annoying that way. Also, fun fact, that doesn't have an ability either, so that goes through the Vulpix. So, looks like Yoan not even knowing what he wants to switch himself out to, so if you're going to do that, why even escape rope? But yeah, definitely going in with the flower selecting. I think that's what you need to do. Just, again, build up more cards in your hand. Gonna get rid of a Colress's Experiment. The last card that was gotten rid of was Colress's Experiment as well. So, not quite sure what you're doing there. Because that'll... Well, I guess you're already at 7, right? So the Lost Zone count doesn't matter anymore. And you have the Beach Court, so... If you get, like, Roxanne, though, from Tord, you're feeling pretty bad. Looks like he's actually gonna go and attack with the basic V. Interesting. Okay. And he does boss up the Shining Arcana. And do an exact one-shot for 140. And now he'll take 30 less next turn. And Tord has to read it because he's never been attacked by Rolling Shell before. Only Rolling Iron. Yeah, so if you're Tord, the best play this turn is to Zacian, Sky Seal Stone, Boss's Orders, and one-shot the V-Star for 3 prize cards, and win the game. So we'll have to see if we can get there. Looks like just a couple of supporters that aren't boss's orders. Also, if he's already used his one boss, he only plays one, so he would need Pal Pad. I can't remember if he's used boss or not yet. Gonna draw another 2, this time with Refinement. We do get Zacian V towards checking how many cards are left in his deck. Yeah, so Yoan should be aware that Tord can one-shot a Goodra V-Star, so he attacked with the regular Goodra V on purpose, making it so it's harder for Tord to do that Sky Seal Stone play. Looks like there is no boss's orders in that part of the deck. It looks like there may only be one more card remaining. He's going to look at all of it with the Fog Crystal and fail. This is definitely an interesting game. Because if Tord does go for the attack with the Zacian this turn, he does actually make it so it's a lot harder. So I think that, I mean, if I were Tord, I would probably just attack with the Guardi EX this turn onto the active. Because even if it evolves into a Goodra V-Star, it doesn't get knocked out, but you force them into evolving into it so that they don't die. But also, they'd probably just retreat it into the other Goodra V-Star. But no, it looks like he's going in with the Zacian. I mean, still, that's fine. He is going to Sky Seal Stone. He doesn't have the bench space for the Luminion to grab boss's orders if he did have it in deck. But he already saw his whole deck, so he knows that it's not in there. So he doesn't need all the energy in the world to do this knockout, but he is going to do what he can here. Puts the Sky Seal Stone on it because he knows that he's not going to be able to utilize the Sky Seal Stone in this match at this point. He's just going to have to go through double Goodra. So Yoan's definitely played this very well. It's just his start was unfortunate. If his start was a little stronger, if he was able to get to 7 cards in the Lost Zone turn 2 or even turn 3, I think that this could have definitely been won by him. Although Tord's play would have definitely changed in that regard, so we will have to see. So yeah, Yoan still hasn't used his V-Star power either. So Tord isn't able to take like a 2-shot with the Gardevoir EX. He could hit it with the Gardevoir EX and then try to recycle his Zacian V again using the Miriam that we do know is in deck. Because he did see it off of the Mysterious Tail. So yeah, Tord is definitely in a position to win. He will have to go through a Goodra V-Star though. He will have to one-shot a Goodra V-Star with the Zacian V. But I think that it will work out for him. I think that he has enough Pokemon in play that allow him to draw cards. In order to get there, he has 2. As long as he has another Psychic Energy in hand, he can draw 4 cards next turn, plus the draw for turn. That's all of the cards in his deck minus 1. So as long as Miriam isn't the bottom card, he should win. Then he can Miriam just a Zacian back into his deck, Miriam the rest of the, and then draw 3 cards, so he would draw the rest of the cards in his deck, put down Zacian yet again, and then put 10 energy on it and blow up the dude. Blow up the Goodra V-Star. You'd be hitting for like, yeah, you'd be hitting for 360. So minus 80 is 280, which is 10 more than you need for knockout. So Yoan up to 9 cards in the Lost Zone now, it looks like it says. Again, doesn't really matter. I think if you're Yoan, you definitely want to Roxanne again if you can. And Tord's last prize card is Roxanne himself, which is, again, kind of funny. Gonna retreat with the Beach Court. He has boss's orders. I'm not sure why he would be trying to eye that up right now. Yeah, because the Zacian would still one-shot you. You have to get rid of it now and hope that Tord can't recycle it. It would be nice if there was a Pokemon ability that worked like Echoing Horn, but did it the way Radiant Venusaur does, where it's like at the end of your turn. So you could take a knockout and then Echoing Horn a basic Pokemon back into play. And that would prevent Tord from being able to put Zacian V into play, because both of them are in the discard, and he would have to penny a Pokemon back. So he would have to penny and Miriam in the same turn in order to win the game, which is illegal. Draws a research for turn. We do have a Luminion, so we are going to get back boss's orders. Yep, and he's not even going to go for the Zacian play. He's going to go for something a lot simpler. He's going to put the boss's orders back into his deck with Pal Pad, use Luminion to grab it. Was able to use that Luminion a second time because he did pick it up with Penny at one point. And he's just going to bring up a Comfey and knock it out with Gardevoir EX. He'll accelerate 1 energy from the discard to his Mew to be able to retreat, put up the Gardevoir EX, put 3 energy to itself with its own ability, putting 6 damage counters on itself. Ooh, I have that plushie. And yeah, that's the game. So Tord won a very long, very methodical game 1. I honestly don't think that Tord did slow play a little bit. So did Yoan. But, I mean, if they didn't slow play collectively, they'd have maybe 5 minutes extra. It was just a very long game. That's just how it ended up working. Goodra just kind of bricked. Tord was able to capitalize on it. So this is your daily reminder to comment, like, and subscribe because it helps that YouTube algorithm. If you're enjoying these videos, you should definitely be subscribed so that you are able to see all my videos in your feed when they come up. Otherwise, you could potentially miss them. So, yeah, if you are enjoying them, definitely be subscribed. If you do enjoy a particular video, hit that like button. Definitely doesn't hurt, and it doesn't even take a second. So, looks like Yoan is choosing to go second, which is a bit interesting in my opinion. I guess that does make it so Tord doesn't have a supporter turn 1, so maybe he's thinking that's his best course of action. Yoan's probably like, I can attack with Cramorant turn 1 and knock out a Ralts and potentially brick him for a fast game. But it looks like Tord drew the nuts, so it's going to be fine for him. He already gets 1 Ralts down with a Battle VIP pass along with a Radiant Greninja. He's going to use Fog Crystal to get a Psychic Energy out of the deck. He is going to Ultra Ball away to Psychic Energy to get a Manaphy, knowing which matchup he is against. And then he's going to conceal cards because he has 1 more Psychic Energy in hand, hopefully to get another Ralts. And then Tord is pretty much as set up as he needs to be. He'll also be able to end his turn with Roar of the Sword. Also, why does Tord's plushie have lips? I've never seen Celebi with pink lips before. It's kind of off-putting, honestly. And Tord, of course, has a massive hand from a research that he just used as well. Because he... Oh, wait. He researched? Oh, Yoan did go first. He just went pass. What? Oh, no. Oh, no. Yoan just drew past with a Cramorant active? Oh, no. Yeah, so Tord gets the 3rd Ralts into play, and now has a 2 energy Zacian, so all he needs is to attach to return to win the game. And Yoan's hand is still awful. So, yeah, the best thing you can do is Escape Rope. That'll actually prevent Tord from attacking. It really will. Because Tord doesn't have any switching options. So as long as you don't put a Beach Court down, you can just Escape Rope or boss up whatever you want. So he's going to bring up the Manaphy. Definitely make sure it's one of the 2 water Pokemon in case a rare candy Gardevoir were to come out. I guess there's still the option that Tord could rare candy Gardevoir and then attach for a turn to the Manaphy and then win the game that way. There is another Curlia. We have one more draw. We have an Ultra Ball. Do we have a rare candy in hand? I don't think so. Worker for 3 more cards. You do not have to discard a stadium in order to play the card. It says draw 3 cards, discard a stadium, and play. So you only have to do one of those 2 actions in order to play the card. Looks like we are going to get a Ralts out of the deck just to thin it. Towards checking to make sure that there are rare candies in there. I think if he rare candies into Shining Arcana that he already has in hand, he could potentially get there. Oh, no, he just attached for turn to his Zacian. So he's going to take the slow route. Perfectly fine here. And the Roar of the Sword can be attached to any Pokemon, so he Roar the Swords to his active. So that he has game on board. So this is, again, a check situation. If Yoan can get another Pokemon in play, but again, does not, just gets a boss's orders. Now we're just going to have to see if there's a way for Tord to get a Psychic Energy to retreat his Greninja. The way Tord plays it is so funny. He's like, I have the Fog Crystal. You're not going to stop me. Tord is kind of a funny person. But yeah, that was a very swift game too compared to the game 1 that we just saw. So again, as always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. We will be back tomorrow with the next round of the Pokemon International Championships. That was a match.